If you've been waking up feeling depleted and wondering how you're going to make it through another day of responsibilities, this message is for you. Especially after a long term relationship ending, emotional turmoil, overthinking, uncertainty about your next steps, and overwhelm of rebuilding your life can begin to take a toll on your overall well being. While you're still trying to make sense of everything that's changed, daily responsibilities don't simply disappear. Life itself continues moving forward, even when you quietly feel as though you're standing in the very same place you were yesterday or even a month ago. So when you open your eyes in the morning, deep down you already know that you still have to participate in life. Work still expects you to show up, decisions need to be made, and the bills don't stop coming simply because you're in a season of transition. That's why, before you've even had a chance to brush your teeth, the weight of everything waiting for you can already begin slowly creeping into your mind. And you may find yourself quietly praying for the strength, the energy, and the courage to face everything that requires your presence. While feeling depleted is certainly real, there may be something much deeper happening internally without you even realizing it. At first, it's the depletion that gets your attention, but over time, the greater concern isn't the depletion itself. It's what you've gradually learned to tolerate. As a former structural engineer, I spent 12 years designing buildings, and one of the things that engineering taught me is that every structure has allowable limits and tolerances. Engineers don't wait until a building completely fails and collapses before paying attention to it. Even during the design process, there are acceptable limits established for how the structure is expected to perform. So when a building consistently begins operating outside those limits, it deserves a closer look. Not because the structure is broken or about to collapse, but because its behavior under stress and strain is revealing something that deserves attention. And something similar can happen in your life. Maybe there was a time when waking up every morning feeling depleted and stressed out would have immediately gotten your attention. Constantly questioning yourself may have felt unusual, and carrying this much emotional weight every day may have caused you to stop and ask yourself whether something needed to change. But now, the pressure of living through your day may have slowly become the standard for your life, which raises an interesting question. How does something that once would have immediately gotten your attention slowly become something that you accept as part of everyday life? I believe part of the answer lies in your incredible ability to adapt. And adaptation is one of the ways you survive difficult seasons. After a long-term relationship ending, survival can be exactly what gets you through the days that feel incredibly heavy. It can help you continue showing up for work, caring for your family, paying your bills, and putting one foot in front of the other when your heart is still trying to make sense of everything. So yes, survival has a purpose, but it was never meant to become your permanent way of living. That's why I think survival deserves a closer look. Because once you can see survival mode for what it is and recognize what has quietly become normal in your life, you can begin asking whether it still belongs. Just because you're capable of tolerating something doesn't mean that you have to continue choosing it every day. Pause and think about that for a moment. Tolerating something and intentionally choosing it are not the same thing. That distinction matters because survival mode tends to narrow your attention toward whatever needs to be handled immediately. When your energy is repeatedly directed toward whatever feels most urgent, it becomes increasingly difficult to consider what you want your daily life to feel like beyond simply getting through it. This doesn't mean that you need to make any dramatic changes overnight, but it may be an invitation to become curious about where adaptation has turned into acceptance in your day-to-day life. You may have adapted to waking up depleted and learned how to function under emotional pressure. You may have become remarkably capable of living your life while feeling disconnected from yourself. But your ability to function in survival mode doesn't mean you've chosen it as the way you want to live. And I wonder if the version of you who wakes up depleted and braces herself before the day has even started has somehow become your identity. Because when you've been living this way for so long, it becomes difficult to separate who you are from the way you've learned to function. You may barely remember what it feels like to wake up excited about your life, trust yourself without questioning every decision, or simply have enough emotional space to enjoy the ordinary moments within your day. And when those experiences begin feeling increasingly unfamiliar, it's easy to assume that something within you fundamentally changed. But what if it hasn't? What if those parts of you have simply become harder to recognize while so much of your energy has been devoted to navigating everything that's changed? Because survival may influence the way you experience a difficult season, but it doesn't get to determine who you're becoming beyond it. And there's something incredibly freeing about realizing that. Because if survival is something you've adapted to, it doesn't have to continue directing the life you're building. Think about what that could mean for your mornings moving forward. Instead of waking up and immediately allowing survival mode to direct your entire day, you could pause long enough before every responsibility begins competing for your attention and ask yourself this question. What would it look like to make one decision today from intention instead of survival? You don't need to have a complete solution today, but identifying one decision helps you begin separating what is happening automatically from what you're consciously choosing to continue. Maybe that decision is giving yourself a few quiet minutes before allowing the day's demands to determine your entire state of mind. Or maybe it's recognizing one pattern you no longer want to repeat automatically. The decision itself may seem very small, but it gives you a place to begin. Because healing after a long-term relationship ending is not only about rebuilding your life, it's about becoming intentional with what you allow to become normal within it. If today's message resonated with you, hit the like button, subscribe to this channel, or share this video with another woman who may need to hear it today. Thank you for being here on Irina's Avenue, and I'll see you in my next video. Bye for now.